I was able to have my best friends in the audience watching my pitch that spring of my senior year. I could get emotional just talking about like the support I've had from friends and family just being above and beyond. And so that's all I could want for anybody else who is a founder to experience that same love and support. But it was definitely really hard. Like I definitely like spent more time working on Dawn than I did like doing my homework. At least senior year of college, especially. I had so many late nights, and it wasn't even because of studying. It was because I was trying to schedule calls with people to get feedback on stuff, or I was trying to do customer discovery, or I was told by my professors that for my startup program they wanted X, Y, and Z submitted, done, paperwork filed in the state of North Carolina. So like the assignments that I was doing for that were very different than the classes that I was in.
Welcome back to Ship It and Sip It. I'm excited to have a special guest today. Her name is Virginia Wooten. She is the founder of the Dawn app, which is a fitness app for ladies, specifically young ladies who are at university at the moment. And we're going to get all into it today. But first, Virginia, the first question I always ask my guests, what did you ship recently that folks should check out?
Yes, so I'm Virginia. I'm the founder of Dawn. It's a social female fitness app. And right now it's specifically for college girls to build confidence in the gym. So our whole thing is helping women become more comfortable in that space and giving them the knowledge to succeed.
And you launched it recently, right?
Yes, launched late September. Yeah. It is in the App Store and Google Play Store, which still feels really weird to say.
Awesome. And I saw your launch video, and one phrase or one thing that stuck out to me from that was you said that you were really excited to go to the gym when you started your college journey as an undergrad, and that you opened the door and you were terrified. So I had two questions immediately from one. I mean, a lot of people have expectations when they go to university or college, but for me, the gym wasn't like at the top of that list. So why were you so excited about the gym? Was it just new facilities, new people to work out with? What were you pumped about there?
Yes. And also I just grew up really active. I've played sports my entire life. I was really involved with soccer, especially. That was kind of like my main sport up until I was probably like 18. And then my last year of high school, I took a step back from sports and I still wanted to, take care of myself. So I spent probably like the year leading up to college messing up at the gym, trying to learn how to do it. I was figuring it out by myself. So I'm very familiar with the process of being a beginner and not knowing what the hell is going on. So by the time I got to school, I was hopeful that I could put all my practice to good use. And the college that I went to, Wake Forest University, had just a fantastic facility. I remember just being so excited after doing my college tour to be in there. It literally had like a waterfall. It's so over the top. It really is. And then when I got in there, I didn't know where stuff was. I wasn't exactly sure how to use some of the equipment because I hadn't seen it before. And I particularly wanted to weightlift and use the barbell. And so when I got into the weight room, it was like all guys older than me. So coming in there as a freshman girl, I was definitely very intimidated for a multitude of reasons.
What was that process like then? Did you keep just trying to like Google stuff? Did you find an app to use for yourself? Did you find a group to train with?
Yeah, so I was doing it solo for a bit. There were not that many women in the weight room. There were a lot in the cardio section, which historically, that's just how it goes, I think, at any gym facility. So I just kind of would make myself go in there for exposure therapy. And it took me all of the first half of my freshman year to work up the confidence to go into the weight room. And that was coming in as someone who had some baseline knowledge. So I thought to myself, if it took me this long to be comfortable in this space. And again, I was just like Googling stuff. I wasn't tied to a fitness app or anything like that. But if it took me this long to get comfortable in that space, I couldn't imagine what it would be like for another young woman who was brand new to this environment, how intimidating and scary that must be.
I guess if you go to university as an athlete, you get all this support. I mean, Wake Forest has strong teams. I'm sure football. I'm sure their women's soccer team's pretty competitive. So you get all this support as if you're there as an actual athlete, but as a student, it's lacking, I guess is what you're saying.
I mean, I wasn't a student athlete, so I feel as if I can't comment like directly on the experience. I had friends of mine, men and women who were student athletes, and they also have an amazing facility, and they're training almost year round. So they had someone with them to kind of take them through the process. But they even talked to me about how what is the off season, especially other young women, they kind of don't know what to do with themselves. So they're usually in there with their coach being talked through like lifts and everything. But once they're kind of, set free, they also don't know what to do. So it seems like there might be like some overlap in experiences, even obviously if they're a student athlete, they're much more advanced. But by the time I graduated, there were a lot more resources, especially for female students that were not student athletes. One of the things that actually a friend of mine and I did while in undergrad, we befriended each other because we were one of the only other girls that we saw in the weight room. We started the first ever all-female weightlifting club, not to compete, but just to provide a safe space for girls to try, mess up weightlifting and other exercises. Like it wasn't just limited to lifting, as well as just we taught people as well. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I would lead classes and, be qualified to give form advice and things like that so that girls could safely learn how to perform stuff.
Cool. Let's stick with the weightlifting for a second before we get into that, because I feel like strength training and resistance training, I guess I'll put it all under that umbrella, is having a bit of a moment. There was the CrossFit surge for like from the aughts to like into the teens. But I think people are seeing that like CrossFit's a little bit intense to do all the time. And I don't know. Some people love it. It works for some people, but
it's definitely unique. So I feel like it doesn't, it isn't appealing maybe to like a very wide population, but CrossFit's still great.
Yeah. So I guess let's start there. Why do you think more women should be interested in strength training, and what specifically do you love about it?
Yeah. So why women should be interested in strength training? I mean, the science shows just how important it is, honestly, for men and women as they age, especially women. They're more prone to reduction in bone density, osteoporosis, and weightlifting literally strengthens your bones. Like, it strengthens everything about you. So it honestly, I like to say that strength training and sleep are the best performance enhancing drugs and the best natural Botox. They'll keep you young, they'll keep you mobile, and they'll keep you looking good and feeling good. For me, why I love weightlifting is it brought me a sense of confidence that I did not have prior to kind of prioritizing myself in the gym. It was one of the first things I did as just a young person in general, not even as a woman, where I was really able to focus on myself, do something that bettered myself, and kind of be a little selfish with my time because I knew it would pay off in the long run. It's given me confidence that I can do hard things and that I also can do things that I set my mind to. I've walked in there and said, oh, I want to try and lift this much weight for this thing. For like this particular lift. And if you stick with it over time, you build that discipline, prioritize that routine and putting yourself first, you can hit those goals. So it's really cool to see just how hard work pays off. And again, it's also just brought such a sense of community for me. That was definitely the weightlifting club I started in college was probably one of the highlights of my time in school. And I got to meet a lot of other very awesome, badass young women because of it.
Very cool. And okay, let's start with the community. Is that where you sort of had the idea for the app, or where did that come from?
Yeah. So when I was in undergrad, my third year of school, my junior year, we had started the club. It had gotten a lot of positive response on campus from men, women, faculty, which was awesome. Like the whole school was on board, and we ended up getting school funding to be able to put on bigger, I guess, more professional events. And we had the documents set up in place. So once I was graduated, it would still exist and the school was still going to be there to kind of make sure that it would stay in place. And I had other young women at other schools in like the North Carolina, Southeastern region in the US reaching out to me for advice on how to start something similar or wanting me to come there and start something. So that was where the idea for Dawn came from, that there was this greater need outside of my microcosm that was the school that I attended. And so I ended up just kind of conducting some customer discovery, seeing what was going on, seeing where the needs were, if this was truly something that was necessary for young women outside of just my college. and I pitched the idea to our entrepreneurship center. From there, I was selected for a startup incubator program that they offer at my school, which includes grant funding. I was given school credit for Dawn, which was awesome because I was already spending so much time on it, which was great. So I got classroom credit, grant funding, hands-on mentorship, and the program ended my senior year where I had to actually deliver a live investment-ready pitch to about a 400-person audience, which was really scary. But I couldn't be more proud of myself for doing that. I was really outside of my comfort zone, and I learned so much of the process. So being in that program definitely was the platform and push and hand-holding that I needed in order for Dawn to kind of get to where it is today.
Very cool. And I guess take us through the evolution of the idea itself. How has it changed over time? You said you had a lot of feedback. You talked with people that might need this. So I guess let's lay out a quick timeline. So when did that happen, and you gave your first pitch about the idea to now? How long are we talking?
Well, my first live pitch was the spring of 2023, and fortunately, from that point in time to now, shop hasn't changed too much. I was pitching without obviously the MVP in development. I hadn't found you nice folks at Paralect quite yet. And at that point in time, it was more so going over the features that I was hoping to have, and it wasn't as fleshed out as it is now when it exists on people's phones. And so something that I had to go back and forth with a lot is I knew what I wanted Dawn to look like 5 years from now. I knew what I wanted it to feel like when people log on there and there's thousands of other young women in college or beyond that were using the app. So I really had to make myself take logical steps back and think, okay, what is going to get those first users logged on or signed up and coming back to use it? Because it's so difficult to create something that is founded on community when the community isn't there yet. So what's going to be the tool that keeps people coming back and finds the value in Dawn when that can eventually lead to that community building? So I conducted even more customer discovery. I ended up having an intern too. She was amazing. She went to actually a different school too, a different, much larger school in the Southeast. So she was able to reach a whole new group of women that I maybe didn't have connections to. And we had to go back and forth about what we wanted with the MVP, making sure that we were solving a problem that actually existed. And it wasn't just from our own personal bias. So we scheduled a lot of phone interviews, surveys, Zoom calls, FaceTimes. And we, at one point, were thinking that we were going to go the nutritional route with Dawn for the beginning. Is a tracker, but not fully, because I think that there are definitely pros and cons to having a nutrition tracker, and depends on the kind of person that's using it. And I felt like equipping young women with something like that could be more detrimental than helpful. And we were initially thinking about going maybe a route that was more an intuitive eating route, trying to help people understand health, nutrition, and just kind of helping them form that baseline. But customer discovery led us to what we have now, which is a fitness tracker specific to the college campus, because that's what people said they wanted. Over and over and over again, young women were saying, I want to go to the gym, but I don't know how to use it. Or when we would ask them, what are you wanting to help you the most with your health and fitness journey? And they were like, how to use the gym. Not going by myself, knowing how to use the equipment that's available to me because I have a great gym down the road. So the answers presented themselves to us. And that's what's so great about asking these open-ended questions to people, is that if you truly believe the problem's there, that's going to be something. It's just kind of making sure that you're meeting the user and audience's needs.
Interesting. So how does the app, I guess, answer those questions? Did you have to sort of figure out what brand of equipment was in the gyms and get all of that into a database somehow? How does it actually look in the final product?
Yeah. So I could talk you through kind of the process on how we got information on equipment. Since the team is still not very large right now, it's me and one other person. What we would do is actually reach out directly to the campus recreation, which is the business side that oversees usually the gym on campus, or gyms if there's more than one, and also intramural and club sports. So anything that's kind of related to fitness with students. just because we felt like it was important that the school knew we existed, and build that relationship with them. Because we operate tangentially from the school. Like Dawn doesn't have to operate with the school, if that makes sense. Like, isn't the school is paying us or anything to be there, or we're paying them. So we would reach out to them and I would just be like, hi, my name's Virginia. I started Dawn. At the time I was a college student, which I think also helped people respond to me, saying that I was still in school trying to do this and solve this problem. And I would usually just ask for like a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And so each school has different brands of equipment. But a lot of times, even if the name is some really long jargon, I could look up a picture and see, because I am a trainer, I've had to be in gym environments so much. I could look at it and be like, okay, that's the same thing that was at this school, just under a different brand name. So I definitely have been having to use my own eyes and kind of perception of equipment to kind of narrow stuff down. So that was the first half of your question. Second half about how Dawn is looking and how we're meeting that user need about learning how to exercise. So you log into the app with your school email. And right now we have it only with certain school domains because we're wanting it to be a soft rollout, making sure we're not taking any missteps, and also getting user feedback. Because the last thing I needed to do was just have it release at like 30 schools and then something blow up in my face. So we're currently operating with, I believe 4 schools on the app right now, all in North Carolina. Those were just the ones that I had connections to and knew a ton of students at, because where I went to school was in North Carolina in the US. And so you log on with your school email if the domain's in our database, and you're able to see a social media feed. You're able to see the workout tracker as well. You're able to see a list of the community. So you can see all the users signed up at all the schools right now. And that might change in the future to just be like school specific, but right now it has all of them, as well as your profile. And you can see your graduation date, your school email, and how many hours they've tracked. And with the workout tracker, you can either choose a train everywhere option, which we wanted to keep when people go on like school breaks or they're home for the summers, or, just traveling. But depending on your domain for your school, you will be able from the drop-down menu to select what gym on your campus is available. And from there, you can select that and see every piece of equipment they have with a written tutorial and what body part that you can use to, that will be targeted. And you can build your own workout programs with that.
I use a fitness app called Heavy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I've heard of it.
One of the neat things that I like, and I think what has helped them grow is, they give you these shareable like graphics after each workout. Like some of them are silly, like you lifted a T-Rex for 8,000.
That's cool.
Kilos or whatever. It's the little T-Rex icon or something.
Yeah.
Some of them are more useful. But anyway,
I think that's useful.
Yeah. Anyway, it makes it just a little bit more fun to share. It gets people to see, ask the question like, hey, what did you log this with? What are you using to work out? All that stuff. Is that something that you're building into Dawn as well?
It's currently not here, but that's one of the first things I want to have on there. I have a list of like the first things that I want to go back and add just because of what I think would be great for marketing and expansion alongside like feedback that I've gotten. But that's one of the things that I think that has made so many of the biggest apps today successful. Like I know a few years ago, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the app Strava. It's more for endurance training. Yeah. The only reason I knew about that is because I saw people posting on social media their shareable like Strava logo and like their distance and things like that. And the same thing with the app Be Real. Like I truly believe one of the reasons Be Real got to the size that it is now is because that shareable component that they offered after you were done using the app, which for them is just taking pictures with friends at a certain point in time. But I do think that is such an awesome tool that does not only just expand for the eyeballs for marketing purposes, in which how many eyeballs are seeing it, but also creating that sense of community, which ultimately is Dawn's goal.
For sure. And since you mentioned Strava, I think that's the app that I have literally used the longest in my life. Aside from, like email.
That's so funny. It's awesome. Strava's great.
I've been on it since I think my first run on there was 2013. So.
Oh, you were way ahead of the game then.
But
You're cool with everybody else.
but my question here is, it's connected with Strava because
Mhm.
I've known their story for a long time. They've
Mhm.
become very popular. They've raised, I think,
Yeah,
I don't know, 5 rounds of funding,
crazy money.
but they still can't like hit profitability. Like,
Huh.
they're not
Yeah.
a profitable company. So I guess when you were thinking about launching a startup in this space, like it is really
Mhm.
challenging for consumer fitness apps to
Mhm.
make money. And you can be passionate about it, but passion
Yeah.
doesn't sort of grow revenue all the
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
So
Sadly.
when you looked at this market, how did you think about like Dawn being able to make a wedge into it,
Mhm.
since it is very popular, and
Mhm.
actually become a viable business?
Yeah. So what we wanted to do to differentiate us from the rest of the market is the community-based component and also being a female-focused fitness app, but making sure our marketing was different than what's being seen right now. As someone who's been in the fitness space since like what? I started working out when I was like 16. I'm 23 now. I've like worked in the fitness industry as a trainer. Like I've gotten to see it from a corporate level and also like hands-on where I'm on the floor of the gym. And something that I've seen within the female fitness app space is that I almost feel like they don't always understand their target audience. Like it isn't always like someone truly going off of the lived experience of other women. And with that being said, I also think their marketing, it seems to be kind of repetitive for some female fitness apps I've seen, at least really big ones, where if it's a female fitness app, it's always pink. If it's something for men or geared towards men or predominantly male audience, it is usually monochrome. And there isn't anything that kind of has that personality in that sense that this is a living thing on its own. Um, and so that's something that was really important for when we were developing Dawn is we wanted it to feel very, very different, but in a good way, more personal. And also we wanted it to be feminine, but not just stereotypically so where everything's just pink. Like we wanted to show our users that we put some thought into this and that our color palettes can be different, our typography, our layout, as well as going back to our niche target audience. That was really important for establishing us, and we're still working on it. I am hopeful that we'll be profitable in the future. But again, this is just going off of what we've all the research we've done so far. And with that being said, there was not a female fitness app on the market that I had seen through my research that was for young women in this specific age range, and especially at college and being location specific. So we wanted to really lean into that this is not only a fitness app that you can use to track, but this is something that can carry over some relationships that you might find on the app into real life. I feel like I'm going kind of on a tangent, but those are kind of like the biggest factors. And going back to the fitness app market, I don't have the stats on the top of my head. It's in my pitch deck, but especially since COVID, people, no matter their gender, have been so health focused, which I think is great. And honestly, that I think that's been a positive outcome of COVID because people were so scared for their health at that point in time. I think it's created a sense of awareness since then that people are now doing research about what they're eating, paying more attention to nutrition, focusing on kind of like longevity. And it's also been just very popular in multiple markets. Like what you were saying about women weightlifting, I think a big cause of that. And again, some people can argue that women are weightlifting more, so brands are advertising that and targeting them. Or I can't tell if brands are just really passionate about getting women in the weight room and more women are receptive to that. And so brands like Gymshark, Owner Active, obviously Nike's been a huge face in the game for like decades now, but even them like promoting female athletes and having more weightlifting specific like clothing. Like it's definitely become more of a trend and more mainstream now, which I think is awesome. And it was not like this. I mean, I'm not that old, but even as a kid, like even in high school, it was like unheard of to see many other like women in the weight room. Maybe that's just where I went to school. But the only other girls I'd see do that were the student athletes. And even then, like I was a student athlete in high school and we didn't have a weightlifting class, but like the high school football team did, the guys football team did.
Yeah.
So there's definitely still a disparity. So long-winded answer, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting and informative. I wanted to touch on your experience as a personal trainer because I think this is a really interesting like fork in the road, maybe
Yeah.
making up this narrative in my head.
Yeah, no.
But if you're a personal trainer, you get to work with people, you get to sort of take them from A to B. It's
Mhm.
a obviously it's a personal relationship. It's in the name, right? But as sort of a founder of an app, that the goals are very similar, but you're distanced from that experience. Just you're trying to hit more people on the app. You can't, guide each one to their journey of
Yeah.
fitness, right? So talk about that sort of shift and how you decided maybe that being a founder was better than trying to be a personal trainer.
So I got my certification. I don't remember the year, but it was right before actually I started the weightlifting club. And at that point in time, I had a bunch of people I knew asking me for like training advice. And I was like, wait, I could just be making money off of this. This is great. And so I did because of that. And also I wanted to add a layer of credibility to our club on campus. Obviously, you don't have to have a certification with fitness to know what you're doing. I know plenty of people who are personal trainers that aren't that good at what they do. I know plenty of people who are not personal trainers that are excellent. I would take their advice. But for me, what I was trying to do with the club on campus, I wanted people to know they're going to get the best experience. They could really trust what we had to say. With that being said, you talking about being a personal trainer and that hands-on, very individual experience compared to Dawn, although we're solving the same problem, we're just going about it very different ways. And ultimately in the future, I do want to have that personal touch for people's fitness experiences. Personal training is fantastic. And if people have it in their budget to make it happen, I think it should honestly like be a standard because of how important it is to know how to take care of yourself. Obviously, I'm extremely biased. I am a personal trainer and have trained people. But at the end of the day, what I've seen with personal training and what I've seen so far with Dawn, everyone's trying to come to the same goal. Everyone just wants to know how to move well. Everyone wants to feel good about themselves, and everyone wants to have some confidence, whether it's in their looks or how they move or whatever. And so we're trying to just help with that as much as we can with Dawn. And eventually I do want to have like an individualized training aspect. That's actually what I want to implement for our freemium version. Like one of the premium features, I want there to be training on there that is specific to the user's goals and experience. Obviously, it's never going to be the same as if you have like a Virginia standing beside you at the squat rack, like being sure to like change where your legs are and you're making sure your joints are in the right place. But I do think that there are a lot of resources out there today, especially with AI, that come to a close second with personal training, with being able to provide good resources and good programming. I myself have used ChatGPT to make workouts for myself, and they've been awesome.
Very cool. I was going to ask if there were any actual like training programs in the app or if that's down the road still.
That's down the road right now. That's one of the biggest questions we've gotten so far from users is, oh my gosh, I love being able to use all the equipment you guys have listed, but I want to learn more about how to organize it. Or, oh, I can go through and do some exercise myself, but I don't know if it's going to accomplish anything. So again, coming back to that personalized experience, just because fitness is so individual. Everyone is coming in with different wants, needs, goals, and also health problems or issues or experiences. So it's really important to meet the user's needs. So yes, to answer your question, you kind of answered it yourself. That's going to be one of the first iterations.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the actual app development or product development process.
Yeah.
Right? How did you find out about us here at Paralect, and at what stage was the app in when you started working with us? And how did that working relationship go in terms of scoping out the initial features and launching the actual MVP?
Yeah, so I had someone refer me because they had an awesome experience. And when I came in, I had the wireframe, and that was it. So Paralect birthed Dawn fully. Honestly, yeah. So they were able to bring the vision to life. And I'm not even just saying this because I know you're associated with Paralect. I've told every single person who's asked me about my app development experience and MVP experience that it's been awesome. I loved the team. I special shout out to Kate. She was our project manager. And I feel like she was like my soul sister in a way. I felt like she understood what we were wanting to do and what issues we had faced with Dawn, what we were trying to solve so well. And she just went above and beyond in the process to make sure that I knew what was going on because I'm not a technical founder. Obviously, I did my homework and knew what to ask for and everything. But she just went above and beyond, making sure that I knew what was going on, that we were making sure that what I wanted was included, or if something needed to be changed, she would explain extensively why they thought this would be best. And I really just felt like Paralect had my best interest at heart and truly cared about the business and what we were trying to do. As a non-technical founder, I truly feel like it was the best experience I could ask for. And it was so simple. It was great.
Fantastic. And can you give us a quick rundown of the timeline from you came to Paralect with wireframes? How many people were working on the app? And then when did the MVP launch?
So we had, by the time I signed the contract, this is beginning of the summer in June, it was maybe 2.5 months. And it would have been out a little bit sooner, but we wanted to make some last minute changes. It was very quick. I've heard much longer timelines from other founders that I've spoken to about first versions of apps being launched. So it was great.
Oh, how many people were on the team, just to get that out there?
2. It is me and one other person right now.
Oh, I mean, your team at Paralect. Did you?
Oh, team at Paralect. I think it was about 8 people, because we had project manager, we had someone for like UI UX who was all design, and then we also had like, there was another person in there. I'm kind of blanking on titles right now, but we had about 8 people, I believe. So yeah, which is great.
Good to know. All right, so I wanted to touch on your internship at Equinox. What was that like?
Okay, it was great. I've loved working at Equinox. Such a cool company, so unique in the gym space as well, because they are a luxury gym chain, which, as someone who's just so interested in the whole fitness, wellness industry, being able to work there and also just experience their facilities firsthand was so cool. They truly are like state of the art, and I really feel like they know what they're doing, and their personal trainers really know their stuff. I actually got to go to like a handful of locations when I did their internship and meet a lot of people at the company when I was interning in New York. This was like 2 or 3 years ago now. All the trainers that work there are just so passionate about what they're doing. They really, what I feel like they hired top of the top people who just, they love and breathe it. That's such an inspiring environment to be in as someone who wants to work in the industry, but also just someone who just likes to work out and is into fitness. That's all you could want.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been in one, but it looks like an amazing place to work out. So
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've gotten to go. I think the ones they have in Europe, I'm pretty sure they have a couple in London.
Mhm.
But besides that, I'm not too sure. New York, there's like so many at this point. I've gotten to try out like some other locations, and I have friends who work there and everything. And it's insane. Like the Hudson Yards location is a hotel, a gym hotel. That's how I would describe it. There's a bar. There's a bar in the gym.
Every gym needs a bar, or at least
I guess so.
Store.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what else I wanted to talk about, I guess, your time as a student and also trying to be a founder at the same time. You mentioned there was a lot of mentorship there at the entrepreneurship program at Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not something that normal college students do, or is it?
Sane people.
So what was that like, trying to be a student and become a founder at the same time?
I could talk about this all day. I just finished school, finished my schooling career this past May. So I graduated from undergrad in 2023, spent all my senior year in that startup incubator, working on Dawn. And then I did a 1-year intensive master's program at their business school. And I just finished that this past May.
Congrats.
So thank you. I've only not been a student for like 5 months or so now, which is so weird. I'm still getting used to not doing homework like Sunday nights. It's been awesome. But being a founder as a student, going back to what you were saying, this is definitely not the typical path, I think, for just like a lot of people for plenty of good reasons. So I felt like I really leaned on my friends who were also in a similar situation. In my startup program, we had, I believe, 7 or 8 startups in it. And so I became very close with people who were doing that, just because it was great to, kind of be in the trenches with some other folks who understood what was going on. I also was so supported by my friends. Like, they only wanted what was the best for me, and they were excited for me which was amazing. Like I was able to have my best friends in the audience watching my pitch that spring of my senior year, which I could get emotional just talking about, like the support I've had from friends and family just being above and beyond. And so that's all I could want for anybody else who is a founder to experience that same love and support. But it was definitely really hard. Like I definitely like spent more time working on Dawn than I did like doing my homework, at least senior year of college, especially. I had so many late nights, and it wasn't even because of studying. It was because I was trying to schedule calls with people to get feedback on stuff, or I was trying to do customer discovery, or I was told by my professors that for my startup program, they wanted X, Y, and Z submitted, done, paperwork filed in the state of North Carolina. So like the assignments I was doing for that were very different than the classes that I was in. But I truly believe that going where I went to school was, I couldn't have asked for a better environment to foster innovation, creativity, and supporting someone who was a student founder. My entrepreneurship center in the program I was in it truly changed the trajectory of what I want to do with my life over the next few years. And my senior year of college, when I was in this program, I was applying to graduate schools. And at that point in time, I was a communications major. So I was inundated in marketing classes, and I wanted to get my master's in marketing. But I ended up pivoting what I wanted to do for graduate school because of the startup program I was in. So I ended up going to business school afterwards, which I felt like would give me confidence as a founder and also help in the long run provide like validity when I was fundraising or introducing myself or trying to get into other rooms of people. And also it was really important for me to be sitting at a boardroom table years from now and know exactly what was going on and knowing the language of business. And obviously that doesn't have to be accomplished with a graduate school degree, but that was an opportunity that presented itself to me and what I felt like was the best fit with my academic journey. During grad school, though, I definitely had to take smaller steps with Dawn, and that was because my classes were so hard and intensive. It wasn't like it was senior year and I could get by with, having like maybe not as many good grades. Grad school is like, if you don't make a good grade, you're getting kicked out. So
And you banged it out in a year instead of two.
yeah,
Which is...
yeah. So that was awesome because the program I was in I was able to get it finished within like 10 months. Which was awesome just because I knew with what I was wanting to do with my life, if I didn't have to do too much more school, I'd be happy with that. So it was a really perfect fit for what I was wanting to do. In my graduate program, I felt like I learned plenty of things that were directly applicable for Dawn, and I met some great people too. So, which is all I could want.
Very cool. And I guess there is sort of a tradition in tech of university students or college students building some product, all the Facebook started in the dorms or whatever. But it's usually, my point is, it's usually like the tech bro guys who are coders who do that. And you've come to it from a very, very different direction. Is that something that like you see growing on campuses in the States? Is that becoming like the path that you took? Is that something that other people are doing as well?
Like I could say yes because I'm biased and because of my involvement with Dawn and starting it in school, I've gotten to get connected to people who were either graduating my year doing similar things, or since I've been out of school or at least out of undergrad, a lot of student founders have reached out to me, like just wanting to connect, ask for advice, things like that. So I could say like yes because it feels like there's a lot, but that's also because like probably like my circle of people I've been interacting with. But I do think, I don't know, I'd like to believe that because of these stories you hear about Facebook and stuff, that a lot of students are realizing that they could innovate at a younger age than maybe they thought. But then again, I also just think it depends on what they're wanting to do for their career. Like I know my school has this awesome entrepreneurship center, and it's actually a minor, I believe, at my school. But most people who attend Wake Forest, my alma mater, they're going to law school or medical school, or they're business majors wanting to go like work in finance or consulting. So it definitely, I think I was a minority, but that's also just because people had different goals. So I'd like to believe that a lot of people, maybe in comparison to like 30 years ago, are entrepreneurial students. But then again, I don't know. It could be my own bias.
Yeah. And I guess my follow-up question to that is, was there any desire or path for you to sort of find somebody who studying computer development or software development or computer science to sort of help you make dawn a reality? Or in the entrepreneurship program, I assume a lot of people are building digital products or want to. And is there any sort of merging of those communities?
The computer science program, I did reach out to students that I knew, and I actually had some friends who are comp sci majors that I asked for advice for certain things like, what should I be looking for? What do you think is best for this? Let me just bounce this idea off of you. But for the most part, with what I was wanting to do, the people that were like available and that had the free time to even allot towards this, I don't think they were going to be able to do it in like the time frame, just because they were full-time students. With the Entrepreneurship Center, they definitely have like just an extensive network of people. And Paralect's definitely part of that now because of me using it in my experience. So the comp sci department at my school, I ended up not utilizing it because, well, I utilized it to the best of my ability, but there was not going to be a fit for whatever reason, whether it was just amount of time to be dedicated towards it, or, I mean, I couldn't pay someone either. So that also wasn't helping anything, which I understand. So for a few reasons, it just didn't work out. But I did have friends of mine who were comp sci majors that also were women, because that was something that was important to me, was to have women on the team. And that was the reason that I enjoyed working with Paralect so much, is because there's a large group of women that were involved with the project. So I had some friends of mine who were like female coders that offered some great advice and tips and things I should look out for.
Very cool. All right. Now you're in New York, as far as I know.
I am in New York. I'm taking this call from Brooklyn.
Awesome. So there's a couple things I want to talk about New York. But first of all, recently, the biggest marathon in the world happened there.
Oh my gosh, yes. I got to see my first major marathon ever for the first time.
So what was that like? And I guess I dug deep in your highlight reels, and I saw that at one point you did have a series of training stories for a half marathon, but is running still on one of those things that you love to do, or did that turn you?
No, honestly. Okay, so I did a half marathon. Well, let me preface. I was not a runner like a little over a year ago. Like when I graduated from college, undergrad in 2023, I was not a runner. I had ran some person. Yeah. Well, now you're a Strava master, so you can't be talking. But I wanted to get into it because I told myself, okay, I can pick like a few hundred pounds off the floor for a deadlift, but I can't run a mile very well. What am I doing? This is not, I could say I'm healthy all I want, but like I do think endurance training and cardio obviously is equally as important for different reasons. So I made myself start running. I wanted to set myself a goal to run a half marathon. I wanted to run a race during grad school, partially just because I wanted to push myself. And also I told myself that if I can run a long distance race while in my graduate program, I can do anything. If I can balance classes and also go do a 10-mile run on the weekend, I can do anything. As someone who's not a non-runner, this was not something that was on my schedule normally. So yes, I did do that. I'm running now in New York. I truly feel like New York and Boston and the US are like the running capitals of the United States. So it's been so cool to be in this environment. I mean, New York as a whole is full of gritty, hardworking, crazy people. And so running obviously fits into that perfectly. So yes, I'm still running. I haven't been doing long distance the past couple months, but I already have a friend trying to convince me to do a race in the spring, which she's probably going to listen to this and she's probably going to hear me say that I'll probably do it with her. So yeah.
I can only support that. I'm a long time runner now. The reason I wanted to bring up New York was not only running, but it is one of the major startup hubs in the U.S. as well.
Yes.
So is that one of the reasons that you wanted to be there, and what's that community been like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of worked out for a few reasons. I did my internship in New York when I was in school at Equinox, so I had connections here because of that, and I got to see what living here was like, even if it was just for like a few months stint. Absolutely loved it. I love New York. Maybe it's because I'm one of the crazy, gritty, weird people. I mean, it probably is. And so that definitely was one of the cities that I had on my radar for where I wanted to go after school. I had lived in North Carolina my entire life. I'm from there, went to school there twice for both my degrees. So I was really excited to try and do something a little out of my comfort zone. Although I'd been in New York for a summer, it still wasn't something that I was like completely used to. And then also my boyfriend, who I've been with for a few years at this point, it worked out that after our graduation, he ended up getting a job offer here. So that was kind of like the last straw that was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. So it all worked out.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely easier to land in New York if you've got a job offer, at least one of the two. It's
Yeah. If you've got housing figured out or a job figured out, you got to have one of those in order to get there. But yeah, being here has been like, I feel like I've grown as a person more since I've moved here since June than I feel like I have in like my entire life. Just because you're, like I said, you're surrounded by, I feel like everyone here is really passionate about what they're doing and working towards something and working hard. Like you come to New York knowing you're about to work your butt off. And I think that that's the most inspiring environment and honestly most conducive to success, to be surrounded with hardworking individuals.
all right. So you are very hardworking. Let's move into how you balance it a little bit. You do some marketing work, as far as I know, as a normal job. You're a founder.
Yes, I do have a normal job too. I work a 9 to 5 as well. Yeah.
You're a founder. You work out quite a bit to train. I think balance is a non-existent idea. So how do you prioritize? How do you prioritize these things and sort of try and fit it all in?
Yeah. So, yes, I do work a 9 to 5. I work in public relations. I also, as you mentioned, do some like social media marketing on the side, which has been so fun. I've like loved social media since I started watching YouTube when I was like 7 or 8. So this has been super cool to kind of get involved with the social media scene in New York too, especially just because there's so many people doing that. Which I've done with just like my fitness page. So I'm living and breathing health and fitness like all the time. And yes, I am a founder too. To say I balance it all, I mean, that's very kind, but I don't feel like I do. I think what I have to end up doing in order to make sure that I'm prioritizing my job that I make money at. Also, I've been making some money like freelance with social media, so I have to prioritize that. I'm making no money with Dawn, but the goal is to make money with that eventually. I found myself kind of like alternating days. Obviously, my 9 to 5's every day, so it's kind of like depending on the level of priority for tasks. I will have like kind of like a social media day and then a Dawn day, or like mostly Dawn stuff, and then I'll edit a reel or something for social media. As far as the working out part, it's been such, and maybe this is like annoying of me to say, it's been such a part of my life at this point that it's like the same as getting sleep. I usually have to move almost every day. I take like 2 rest days. And also what makes it easy is having friends that are really into fitness. So if I'm wanting to socialize and catch up with a friend, like we'll do a workout class or go lift together and then like get dinner afterwards. So I'm able to kind of combine my social life with fitness stuff because I'm also around other crazy fitness people too. So that has made it easy. It isn't like I have to carve out exactly like a separate time slot because the people I surround myself with also are really interested in that. But I definitely don't balance it all. And there's definitely days I'm behind, like almost every day.
Yeah, and I guess that we can tie that back to the app and sort of working with apps real quick, because one of the things that you mentioned as well is like guiding people and having all of the equipment there, but not really knowing what to do. This is something that I noticed when I started going to the gym more. Really last winter, I started weight training more as an off season for running and cycling. But I faced the same thing where I was like, running is quite simple to just do. You know, you put the watch on, you go out the door, and if you are out there for an hour, you've run for 59 minutes of that hour. But in the gym, it's like I can go to the gym and an hour can pass, but I can do like, 20 minutes of actual work because I'm waiting for machines, I'm setting up the lifts, I'm taking weights on and off. And then I'm like scrolling through the app trying to build my workout while I'm doing it. And then I'm picking music on Spotify. Like there's a lot of distractions going on. So I guess my question here is, if you look at the user experience of not just the app, but like the user experience of working out and like making that an efficient process, do you have some thoughts around that?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm having to do that now. Any adult with any responsibilities is limited on time for when they could like set time aside for fitness. And I feel as if even with my program I've made for myself, like the past couple months, I've like labeled it like my efficient lifting program, because I got to get in and get out. So something that I think is great is kind of forming a game plan before you go in. And I know that sounds like so much easier, like common sense, easier said than done. but making a point, maybe like, I don't know, the evening before you go to bed, like if you know you're going to go to the gym the next day, let's figure out what that workout is so you can go in there, block everything out to the best of your abilities, and be able to follow that game plan. And that's actually something we prioritize with Dawn, being able to see what equipment is in the gym and how to use it. And you could set up your workout before you even step inside, just because that takes away the distraction factor. Because if you're distracted, you'll then start thinking about, oh my God, people are watching, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm so nervous, or I look stupid right now. So that was something we were trying to mitigate with that as well. Knowing what you're going to listen to, either a playlist, audiobook, no music if you're that crazy person. I think just having that, like, honestly, just prepping ahead of time helps so much. Or if you're one of the people that likes to follow along with the workout video, I know plenty of people that do that themselves. Having that saved in your YouTube watch later, so you don't have to search. So I think coming up with a workout plan ahead of time, I'm not saying it has to be a whole program, but at least knowing what exercises you're going to do. And if you can, going at a time of day where it isn't as busy, but that itself is so different too. And also, like, I'm at a gym where I feel like people are always there no matter what. So some people say that, but I don't even know if that's always applicable. So
yeah, no, I am firmly in like the 5:30 a.m. club now because we have
you're crazy.
two young girls, and that has got to work out when he can.
Yeah,
and that's the only time I can. So
I get it.
But it is amazing. A few times I have tried to go into the gym like in the evening after work, and wow, I can't, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a zoo in there.
It's madness. So 5 a.m. there's like 2 other people in a huge gym. The gym I go to is a 15-minute walk, so there's my warm-up.
Oh, that's so nice.
Just knock it out. But back to, okay, let's talk about your content real quick, and then we'll wrap things up. So we love founders who share their journey, whether it's a healthic journey, in your case, more of a fitness journey, but maybe that'll change in the future. What inspires you to keep publishing content on mostly your Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm definitely most active. I have like a TikTok, but honestly, I use Instagram so much more because I have so much more of like a community feel on there. Not yet on TikTok, maybe eventually. What inspires me to create content is this sounds like really corny. I've always loved storytelling. I actually studied creative writing while I was in college as well. And I've always been one to like meticulously like document my life, things like that. So I've kind of just treated the content as just another way of doing that, both with like my fitness page, and then also I end up cross posting on the Dawn feed as well a lot, just because Dawn is such an integral part of my life right now, as well as I think it's such an interesting part of like my fitness journey. I think it's so important for founders to talk about their journey, because I think it's so easy to not associate the people with the brand. And I think what's so awesome about social media today is you can combine the two. And I know some of the brands that I am most loyal to, most passionate about, are always like, I don't know, always wanting to get stuff by them, are the brands that I feel as if I've gotten to know the founder or the team and the people behind the company. So I talk about Dawn a lot on social media and post on social media and like my fitness journey on my fitness page a lot, because I'm passionate about it. I want to help other people and also document my own process. But also with Dawn, I'm documenting my process and also humanizing the brand. I for better or for worse, I kind of want people to associate Dawn with me to a degree right now, so they can know that it's a real person who's just wanting to help them out, who gets their experience, who understands the experience of what a lot of young women face when they're starting their fitness journey. Because I've been that person. And I think that's what I want to make sure that I get across with Dawn, is that we're not sitting here on some, like, I don't know, pedestal preaching at you doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. We're actually in the gym with you, figuring it out together. And that's something that I think is really important for Dawn's brand.
Yeah, and I think that level of authenticity is very important. I think that's what people want. I mean, I don't talk to.
I know it's what I don't. Yeah, that's what I want with brands.
Target audience very often, but
that's okay.
It feels like, you know, if Nike or Lululemon, you know, made a press release and said, we've made a training app for young women, it would be like so faceless. I don't know. Like, it would be popular probably, and it would be high quality, I assume, but you wouldn't have that connection with the app, maybe.
Yeah. That's what I think is, I mean, obviously if Nike and Lululemon made something like that, they'd probably knock it out of the park because they have hundreds of people figuring it out for them. But I do think there's truth to what you're saying. I think it's really what makes there can be a million fitness apps, but we want Dawn to be the one that actually gets our user's story and what they're going through. And I think that's what's so important about brands today, because I feel like every market's oversaturated, or that there's so many people doing the same thing. So what's going to make it stand out is the people behind it, because there is no same person. There is no, there's not going to be a carbon copy of Virginia doing a fitness app somewhere. Maybe there is, and I'd love to meet her because she's probably just as talkative as me. But you get what I'm saying. It does create authenticity, like what you said.
Yeah, for sure. You just reminded me, there's this ultra runner that I follow, and I listen, she's got a podcast with her husband, and she's won a bunch of like the longest races, like 200-mile plus stuff.
Oh my God.
And she started her podcast a couple years ago, really authentic, just really connects well with her audience. Even me as a dude, I like to listen to her stories.
Yeah.
So she is big into strength training, and she did launch her own app, and she's got trying to grow it through that similar path as you're going down now. So you're not alone. There are more of you out there. But in terms of Dawn, what does success look like in the next sort of 6 to 10 months, medium term?
So medium term, I definitely have like user acquisition goals. And I also want to start fleshing out like the second version. Because right now it is pretty bare bones. It just has the workout tracker. And then long term, as I said, I already know what I'm wanting to have, unless someone point blank's telling me, oh, you're missing out on this. I really want this. So definitely wanted to hit certain numbers for user acquisition, expand to some more schools as well. I'm already working on communicating with other students at other universities who've said that they want to use Dawn, or people who have graduated from school saying, oh, I think this would be great for the current student body. So already working on that. Yeah, I think those are probably like the medium goals right now, medium term.
Very cool. And I hope that we have a pretty international audience. So last question before we wrap up, when can ladies of all ages and all over the world look forward to trying out Dawn, or do you not? What promises about that?
I don't want to make any promises because you never know with stuff like this, but I hope sooner rather than later. The ultimate goal for Dawn is to not just be college women, and to not just be in the US. So, because there's something I've learned through my hands-on experience in the fitness industry, is that no matter the age group and location where you've grown up, the feeling of intimidation in the gym is a universal feeling for a lot of women and men, of course, but I've trained predominantly women. So I believe that there definitely is a need, and I hope to bring this to your friends and listeners at Ship It and Sip It internationally, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Well, where should folks follow along with your journey and follow Dawn?
Yeah, so Dawn is on pretty much all social media at dawn.app. If you want to keep up with me and kind of the behind the scenes of Dawn and my own fitness journey, I'm Health with VA on all platforms.
Very cool. Yes, definitely do go follow Virginia. She is on a journey that's amazing. And right now, are you still doing the cut?
Yes, I am. I have been on a 10-week gym grind, and it's been great. I'm on week 9 right now, which is crazy. But I wanted to kind of lock in before the new year to know that I gave this year my all. So that's been good. Awesome. Yeah. So download Dawn on the App Store and Google Play Store.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Virginia. It's been amazing to chat with you, and I hope you have a great day. And ship it and sip it, everybody.
Yes.